Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 555, and today's date is December 31st, 2014, the last day of 2014, and the title of this episode is The Current Economic Collapse News Brief. Now, before I get started, I just want to wish everyone a happy new year. Doesn't matter where you are in the world, have a healthy, safe new year, and this is going out to everybody. Let's get into the economic collapse news. Now, here in the United States, we understand that we are in a holiday season. Jobs have been ramped up for the holiday season, and we're starting to see that they're starting to let a lot of these people go. And as we go through January and February, a lot more people will be let go. We're going to see additional layoffs during this time period, but we're seeing initial jobless claims. They have risen by 17,000 last week. We're at the same level as July at this point. And again, as we go through 2015, as more and more retail shops close up because they couldn't make their sales quota for the year, the stores can't stay open. They have to close them down, lay off people, and we're going to see a lot of people out of work. We're going to see a lot of corporations laying off a lot of people in the 2015 year. Now, we understand that the United States government, the central bankers have been blowing up bubbles all over the place. We got real estate bubble. We got a stock market bubble. We have a student loan bubble. We have a derivatives bubble. And right now we see student loans blowing up even larger from November 2013 through November 2014. Federal direct student loan program, as reported by the monthly Treasury statement, rose from $687 billion to $806 billion, a one-year jump of $119 billion. Right now, student loans is standing at about $1.13 trillion. And again, we have the illegals coming in. They can get student loans to keep this bubble inflating, but as we know, as time goes on, these bubbles will pop, and they're trying to prolong this so they can get the event started. And what is that event? That is war. That is war with Russia, North Korea, China, Iran, Syria. These are the major players, and this is why they've been provoking them all throughout the year. And you can see that military assets are all set up. They're in the Pacific. They're in the eastern section of Europe. They're in the Middle East and in Africa. Everything has been set up. They are ready to go. Now, they need to keep this illusion alive. So what are they doing? They're continually pushing the stock market up, and they're suppressing gold and silver because they don't want anyone to realize that we are not in a recovery. They're pushing real estate higher and higher, the best they possibly can. It is losing steam, and this is why they came up with that Fannie Freddie Mac loan type of program where you only have to put about 3% down. If you have a heartbeat, you can get a mortgage. But we see that existing home sales right now have shown that sales are increasing. This is what the corporate media is telling us, that real estate is doing fine. How did they get an increase in existing home sales? Something doesn't make sense. Let's see, mortgage applications, they're declining every single week. Mortgage companies laying off thousands upon thousands of people going back to August of 2013. New construction is down. What is going on here? Well, they're up to their old tricks. What have they done? They revised last month's numbers. That's what they do. They went ahead and they revised it lower to make it look like existing home sales rose by 0.8%, and they only expected 0.5%, but again, they didn't rise anywhere. They're declining. All they did was manipulate numbers, just like they do it with GDP. All of a sudden, we went from 3.9 to 5%. They included Obamacare. Obamacare is not production. Obamacare is not expansion of the economy. But they added it in, and we went to 5%. They manipulate inflation. They manipulate unemployment. And why not manipulate the real estate numbers? Any statistical number they can manipulate, that's what they do to keep this recovery alive. How could this be possible if home ownership rate fell again in the third quarter? Now it is at 64.4%. Something doesn't make sense. It's either all these numbers are right and all the real economic indicators that we're looking at are wrong, or it's the opposite way. And I'm going to go with what we've been looking at is correct, that the government is lying. They're manipulating their numbers to convince everyone that everything is just fine. Now, in Greece, we understand that they have major problems. They're coming up with a snap election in January. Right now, the parliament in Greece has been dissolved after Prime Minister Samaras requested the dissolution of the legislature following its failure to choose a new president after 3 consecutive rounds of voting. Greece is due to swear in a caretaker interior and justice ministers later Wednesday. The pair will preside over the election process. The dissolution of the parliament has renewed concerns about political stability in Greece at the heart of the Eurozone's debt crisis. And we also have to remember the central bankers are already warning Greece, listen, if you don't do what we do, if you don't do what we say, we will have Cyprus type bail-ins in Greece. People are getting nervous in Greece. Right now, the Greece bank deposit outflows are growing. Greece bank deposit withdrawals accelerated this month. People are getting nervous. They don't want their money stuck in the bank like in Cyprus. Those people went to sleep one night, woke up the next night, and they couldn't take their money out. Net outflows in December totaled about 3 billion euros, which is about $3.65 billion, according to 4 banks. So they're getting very nervous. And we can see why, because as they're being threatened with bail-ins, they're saying, you know something, I don't want to keep my money in the bank, I want it someplace else, and I will only keep a little bit in there to pay for the bills. And this is exactly what everyone should be doing, continually doing. Only keep enough in the bank to pay your bills. Keep your money in precious metals or other places. Don't tell anyone where it is. This is my personal opinion. This is what I do, and this is what I believe that everyone should be doing at this point, because you never know when this is going to occur. And you need gold and silver. You also need cash on hand just in case. Now, Obama was out there, and he is being interviewed, and he asserts, wherever we have been involved over the last several years, I think the outcome has been better because of American leadership. We are hugely influential. We're the one indispensable nation. But when it comes to nation building, when it comes to what is going to be a generational project in place like Libya, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, Lebanon, we can help. But we can't do it for them. In other words, the Libyan people failed, and the Syrian people failed, and the Iraqi people failed, according to the American president. Now think about what he's saying. The United States government, the central bankers, went into these countries. They overthrew the elected government in these countries. They replaced it with a puppet government. This was not for the people. This was for the central bankers. Because in Iraq, in Lebanon, and all these other countries, they wanted to sell their oil not using the dollar. They wanted to accept other currencies. They wanted to accept gold or silver. And the central bankers could not let this happen. So basically what happened is they went into all these countries and they overthrew them because they knew they needed to prop up this dollar for a longer period of time before the collapse occurred. And we can see right now all the people now are fighting back, saying, listen, we never wanted this. You invaded our country, replaced it with a government of your choosing, set up a central bank, and you are controlling us. And now we want our countries back. So basically, wherever the United States has gone, it has made it worse for the people. Look at Ukraine. Are they really that better off right now? Their economy is falling apart. It's imploding on itself. Look at the economies of all these other countries imploding. Wherever the United States is, guess what's happening? War. Sudan, Somalia, Mali, Yemen, Libya, Lebanon, Pakistan, Ukraine. No matter where they are, what they're doing, there is war. It's not better for the people. It is worse for the people. It's better for the central bankers who are trying to control the entire area. Now, France is out there and they're enacting a law which will allow the government to snoop on private internet user data. The French government has published a decree enacting an internet surveillance law that was passed a year ago. The controversial measure allowing authorities administrative access to connection data reportedly comes into force the first day of 2015. So basically, France will be spying on every single person in the country. The decree providing French officials with access to data from a wide range of telecom services in the country, including phone calls, text messages, internet access by both private users and operators, was published over the Christmas holidays. Starting January 1st, French government itself will be in control of its residents' connection data. So basically, what are they doing? The same thing the United States is doing. Same thing the NSA is doing. Spying on all of their people because they are very nervous. They're worried about what is coming. And we know what is coming. An economic collapse. They realize people will be rioting. People will be pissed off. People will be angry. The system will collapse. And we know this for a fact. Go back in time. Why is the Treasury giving emergency preparedness to all of their bank representatives? Makes no sense. Why is DHS purchasing billions rounds of ammo? Why are they trying to nationalize the police force? Why is Spain training their police force to deal with civil disobedience? Why does the Eurozone have a special police force that can be dispatched to any country that is having a problem controlling the people? We understand what is coming. And a few weeks ago, we talked about how the U.S. Treasury is ordering survival kits to its employees overseeing the federal banking system. The Department of Treasury, they spend about $200,000 on survival kits for all its employees who oversee the system. But what makes things even more surprising and confusing is that 2 days before the survival kit RFP solicitation became public on December 4th of 2014, a just as curious notice was blasted by the Fed's recruiting Twitter account, hiring an emergency preparedness specialist with Department of Homeland Security directives. That's job ID 10185. So the Fed is hiring not just any emergency preparedness specialist, but one familiar with DHS directives for emergency preparedness, encompassing the development, coordination, and implementation of unified planning, disaster preparedness, response and recovery policies and procedures, emergency preparedness and exercise program training for the board staff, highly involved in emergency preparedness planning across functional areas, coordinating emergency response actions, involvement at various levels of the structure. The individual must be able to maintain a secret clearance. The only question is, why does the Fed, a uniformly safe institution where economists engage in deep contemplation and decide how much the U.S. deficit they will monetize, need a person with this type of qualifications? Something is going on. They understand a collapse is coming. This is why the Fed is hiring their private police force, and this is why Obama said that private police force is like any other police force out in the United States. And we can see right now they are definitely planning for something, and that is the economic collapse. That is people protesting. That is people rioting, people pissed off at the government, at the central bank. They are getting prepared. Now, we understand the U.S. placed sanctions on Iran during the peace talks, and the United States basically is violating the Geneva interim nuclear deal by imposing new sanctions against Iranian entities and individuals. This measure goes against U.S. commitments under the Geneva Joint Plan of Action, Iranian Foreign Minister spokesman stated. While negotiations are underway between Iran and the P5+1, such a move is a blatant violation of the principle of goodwill and casts doubt on the U.S. objectives in the talks. And again, they really don't want peace. They want war. They're preparing for war. We just need to look at their actions. Forget what the government officials tell us. Look at what they have been doing around the world. They've been provoking countries. They've been getting ready for war. They've been maneuvering military assets into position. This is what it is all about. Now, out in the Middle East, we understand the Islamic State is running wild out there. It is a proxy army for the United States, Israel, UK, and other Arab nations. It is being used to create chaos in the Middle East because they're losing control of all these countries. And they need to get into Syria and eventually into Iran because, as we know, if there is a war with Syria, Iran and Syria do have an agreement where Iran will come to the assistance of Syria. And right now, Iran is making deals with Iraq to fight the Islamic State. Iran has entered into a formal agreement with Iraq to help rebuild the nation's depleted military in the face of continued aggression from the Islamic State. The two sides stress the need for consultations to ensure security. And we have to remember, the United States is in Iraq, but they're keeping them from really going after the Islamic State. They're keeping them in the dark about what is really going on, because they don't want them to destroy the Islamic State. What they want to do is they want them to handle the uprising that is going on in Iraq, and that is the people of Iraq. And it's the same things happening in Lebanon, Libya, Yemen. It is all the same. The people are sick and tired of the puppet governments, and they are rising up. Now, the Islamic State has allegedly demanded to free servicemen held only if they meet their demands. And basically their demand is they want their own state. They want part of Syria and part of Iraq. And that is their demands. This is coming from an unofficial source. And again, we can see already they're building up to go into Syria. They're using the propaganda to get troops into this area. And as we can see right now, the Islamic State forces are reported by Western military sources to be massing heavily in central and northern Syria, especially south of Aleppo. They're trying to retake the Qureris military air base once again. And we have to really look at what's going on here. They've been showing that they can down planes. Of course, are they really doing this? Who knows? But it's propaganda to get the no-fly zone, to get the buffer zone. Now they're going after an air base once again. They tried to do this once before, but the Syrian armed forces came in and they pushed them out, so they're trying once again. And as soon as they capture an airbase and they keep it, basically what's going to happen is the United States, Israel, UK, and all the Arab forces, the coalition, are going to say, listen, we need to lock down this area. We need a no-fly zone. We need a buffer zone, because they do have the ability to fly planes, to shoot down planes, and we can see this is definitely building up right now. Now, we understand the FBI was completely wrong about the Sony hacking. It did not come from North Korea whatsoever, and there are more cybersecurity firms out there telling them, you know something, you're way off base with this, and it had nothing to do with North Korea. Basically, what happens is the government just continually lies to the people. They never admit that they're lying. They put it out there in the news to make everyone convinced that it was North Korea, to demonize North Korea, because, again, the players are always the same. This is where we're going to be going to war with: North Korea, Iran, Syria, China, Russia, and others. But the FBI is out there, and they're saying the cyber terrorists who hacked Sony Pictures, and now they're not saying it's North Korea. They're just saying the cyber terrorists, because they know it was an inside job. They know it was a disgruntled employee, and who was part of a different group. They're saying that they have threatened to attack an American news media organization. And this is coming out in the FBI bulletin. The threat against the unnamed news organization by the Guardians of Peace, the hacker group that has claimed credit for the Sony attack, may extend to other such organizations in the near future. And they're getting prepared and ready for this. Now, they want that movie which Sony created, The Interview. Of course, this movie was controlled and created by the U.S. government. They wanted it made because they were hoping it would be leaked into North Korea, and they were hoping that someone would follow through on this and assassinate the leader of North Korea. So what they're going to do right now is South Korea activists say they're going to launch balloons, and they're going to tie copies of The Interview onto the balloons and have them float into North Korea, and hopefully somebody there will see it and act upon it and use it to assassinate the leader. Now, again, this is absolutely ridiculous. This is going to go nowhere, but you could see how desperate they are to do this and to get rid of this leader. And again, this is all part of what they have been planning. I see 2015 coming up. I see the economy declining even further. I see retail sales declining. I see real estate declining. Yeah, we might see a little bump up because of what the Freddie and Fannie are doing with the loans, but then it's going to just completely disappear. Look, they had to bring the interest rates so low, and they can't even get people to take out mortgages or buy homes. Doing this no percent down is just going to make the situation worse. We're going to see a lot of people being laid off once again during this year, and we might even see a crash. Who knows when it will be, but it seems like we're getting closer. They're getting ready all across the world to provoke this war, and we've been building up for a year and a half now, and it's continuing, and we can see from going back from the beginning of 2014 to the end of 2014, a lot has happened. A lot of military assets have been moved all over the country and all over the world, I should say, in Eastern Europe, Pacific, Middle East, and Africa, because they are definitely getting ready to bring this war hot. They're ready to go. They realize they can't hold this economy together. Their illusionary statistical numbers are separating themselves from what's really going on. Europe is in a recession/depression. Greece is getting ready to leave the Eurozone. They don't want to be a part of it anymore. We're going to have to watch that very carefully. Listen, everyone, have a great new year. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.